Well, hello everybody and happy Sunday. How are you? My name is Scott Pinyard. I'm the head coach here at This Naked Mind, and I'm going live today like I do most Sundays. I'm going to get better about that, I swear. It's been a crazy few weeks. But I want to go live and I want to talk about some of the things that I'm hearing, some of the things I'm saying. Actually, I get to talk today about what I think is like one of the most amazing, most tremendous, like absolutely mind-blowing things. And I can't wait to give it to you guys. I'm going to talk about state today. But before I do, I want to offer you something. So often people go on a change journey. We embark on something, as a matter of fact, and I'll talk about this a little bit today. Forbes magazine has done some research to see like when is it that people's sort of motivation, right? When they make a big change, when do people kind of shift when they do like New Year's resolutions? When does that happen? Most resolutions are given up by January 19th. We are super close to that. So if you are feeling like, hey, you know what? I'm trying to change and this is hard for me. I have something for you. And it's totally and completely free. How's it going, Maria? Glad you're here. And it's this. It is Naked Life Stories. So we have put together a book of just story after story after story of people who have gone down the road that you might be on right now, right? Who've been able to shift their relationship with alcohol to make a huge difference in their life. So if you are feeling like, wait a minute, I need some inspiration. Wait a minute, I'm feeling kind of drained. Man, this is worth it. So you can get a free, hey Jenny, how's it going? Hi mom. Hi mom. If you can get a copy of this, it can make a huge difference. And I want to give you one for free. So I'll give you a free digital copy of Naked Life Stories. Just go to nakedlifestories.com, nakedlifestories.com. You can get your free copy today. My story's in there, actually. So go check that out. It's a free digital copy. It is something that I think, I know makes a huge difference for people. And particularly, hey Angela, how's it going? Particularly around this idea of state. And that is what I'm going to talk about today, right now. So I've kind of hinted at this idea, but I really want to talk about this because this is the number one thing. Hey, Sue, and thank you. That's very nice of you. This is something that so many people are just not aware of, and it blows my mind that like even when we do become aware of it, over time we tend to forget. Hey, Anna, how are you? And we forget that we have this lever, right? And this thing like can be a driving motivator of your day. Like it can literally change how you experience your time. And no matter what it might be, right? Like if you're, hanging around people that are maybe that don't make you feel very good, or you're trying to slog your way through another day alcohol free, or you feel like work is just overwhelming, this thing is and I will put money down on this. Not that I'm a betting man, but like this thing is the best lever that you have to change your journey right now. Like as soon as I'm done with this live, please don't stop watching. Although I'm going to tell you this, you're going to go like, hey, I want to go try it. And I'm talking about it now because of the date, right? I mentioned in my intro, January 19th is normally where people end up giving up on these new things they're going to start trying. And we are very close to that date. So wanted to talk about this hidden tool, right? This lever that you have to pull that can make a huge difference in your journey. And knowing this makes a gigantic change, right? Because this whole idea is that you are much more in control than you might think you are. So this concept, this idea that I want to talk about today is called state. Right. And I want to, of course, I want to define it up front. I also want to say hi to people. Hi, Donna. How are you? Anna, I said hello to you. Kathy, hello, hello. Awesome. And by the way, guys, I'm going to ask for some feedback as we go through here. So definitely keep the comments coming. But also, if you have questions, I'm here for that as well. And I'll get to them when I get to the end. So what the hell is state? What am I talking about? State is mood. Right? State is mindset. State is how you feel mentally and emotionally, right? Mood is the best sort of analogous word that I have for it. But it's the way you feel at any given moment. State as in like state of mind. And here's the thing about state. And this, guys, when I learned this, it blew my friggin' mind. We often think that it gets set for us, right? Like, oh, I'm really excited to go to this concert. I'm really excited to see my best friend. I'm really excited to go on this trip, right? Whatever it might be. We have this idea that there is external things that happen and then they come in to us, right? We observe them, we feel them, and then suddenly we're in a better state of mind, right? And what's really funny is that it has nothing to do with those outside results, right? Like if you find yourself in this position where you're like, oh, I'm going to feel so happy when I'm on a beach at vacation, or I can't wait until this happens. And I can't wait until this happens. And so once that finally does, I'm going to be happy. Like, here's the thing, right? You don't need any of that outside experience to get into a better state. Because ultimately what state is about is it's about your thoughts. So you can be in the middle of a horrible day, right? And maybe you've experienced this, right? Like I am known for making jokes at inappropriate times. Why do I do that? Right? Why do I use humor? Because humor changes my states. You could be in the middle of an absolute shit day and have a funny thought and notice that your mood shifts, right? You could be really struggling with alcohol maybe, or whatever it is you're trying to change. And you can experience a mood shift because someone has a wisecrack or someone says something funny, right? Why is that happening, right? It is happening because your thoughts are changing. And I want to talk about how you can like actively do this. And honestly, I cannot underscore enough how mind-blowing this idea is. And it's this, right? You are responsible for your state. Like you actually have control of how you feel at any given moment. And this is no matter what is going on with you, right? No matter how you feel about your situation, no matter what people are around you and driving you friggin' nuts, like at all times, you have the power to control your state. And when you learn how to do this, it is an absolute game changer. And the reality is, right, our thoughts and our mood are super easily influenced. And I can prove it to you. I want you to like think of a day where you were just having like a horrible day. Right? It was just like miserable. I had a day once, and I'll tell you a story because this, I realized this because I had this experience too, right? I woke up late, right? My alarm didn't go off. My car was very, very low on gas. And so I was already late and I had to stop and get gas. I got to work and my boss at that point, I won't tell you which one, if any of them are watching, it's not Annie Grace, I can tell you that. But my boss was just being an absolute terrible person, right? And so I'd had this day that was like just absolutely full of stress. It started off stressful, it like got more stressful. And when I was at the end of the day, I was driving home and I happened to listen to a podcast at that point, and that podcast was like funny. Right? That podcast really made me laugh. Like that particular episode was just, like almost pull over to the side of the road, crying, laughing. And I got home and my wife asked me, how was your day? And you know what I said? It was pretty good. That was totally not true. It was terrible from the minute I got up all the way until I was driving home from work. But because I had that time in my car, because I listened to that podcast, and which, by the way, I put on, when she asked me that question, I said my day was kind of good, right? And I'm guessing you have had an experience like that. My guess is that you can spend some time and think about, like, when is it that I've had an absolutely terrible experience that all of a sudden changed, right? That all of a sudden got different. And what I want to explain to you today, and what I want to let you know today, because again, I wish I had known this way, way, way sooner, that capacity to like shift your mood exists all the time. And you can, whenever you want, take charge of your state and change it. And there are so many ways to do this. For me, my main way, hands down, no questions asked, is music. As a matter of fact, I was doing that just before I went live. I do that before I go live every time, right? If I need to do something and I need to be in the right state, I need to be in that energetic, upbeat state, I use music. I use loud music. Right? I'm home right now, but if I'm in public, I put on headphones, right? And you see athletes do this all the time, right? We do this sort of stuff because it puts us in the right mindset. And it's, for me, an incredibly powerful lever. But like, let's think about what actually happens, right? Like, why does this actually work? And, when I use this strategically and mindfully, I show up the way I want to. And, I had a day a while back where, I was just like not in a very good headspace, and I had to do some live work. I had to coach some people, and I had to figure out how to shake myself out of it. Music was the way to do it. What happens, right? Like, how specifically does that happen? Well, my theory on this is that it kind of breaks the patterns that we're in, right? It breaks this whole thing where we get stuck focusing on the negative or focusing on the stress, because you know what? For me, like, if music's going on, I got to dance a little bit, right? And it is very hard to be sad when you're dancing a little bit. It's just true. And so I can strategically, and I actually have a playlist that's called State for this reason. And every time I hear a song that I want to add to it, I throw that song on there. And that I want to add it, I throw a song right onto that playlist, because state is a massive driver of how we feel. Right. And actually, we do this as a company. I just got back yesterday from Denver. I spent some time with Annie and the team, and we were kicking off a coach training. Right. And so the way that we do that is we spend 2 days on Zoom, and they're very long days, right? They're 8-hour days, 10-hour days. But guess what we did? The hour leading up to us going live, both days. Guess what we did? Very loud music, lots of jokes, silly dances. Now, we naturally have fun together as a group of people, but that's also incredibly mindful, because we know that that's putting us in state for going out there and being able to do the best that we can, right? So what other levers do we have, right? What are the other ways that we can like get into state? I already talked about music. The other one that I love is movement. Right? So if the music's good, maybe you'll start dancing a little bit, but you don't have to dance, right? There are going to be things like, what are you doing with your body? Paying attention. Are you like slumped back? Not feeling good? You can literally sit up straight. Change the way that you're holding yourself. Or even better than that, right? Go for a walk, go for a run, go lift weights. All of these things will shift your mood, right? And I cannot, again, overestimate how much of an impact this can have. And the reason that it has this impact is, again, we're going through the slog. I mentioned January 19th, right, is when most people give up. Well, why does that happen? That happens because we're about 2 weeks in, right? Willpower runs out. Things shift for us. We don't feel good anymore. And so we decide to give it up. Because we experience, we might still have that goal. Maybe you still want to lose that 20 pounds, or maybe you still want to change your relationship with alcohol, but it just feels so awful. It just feels like such a slog, right? That is why this is so powerful. And I will submit to you that it does not matter what is going on with your life, what is going on around you, who is around you, how people are doing these things, right? And yes, play with the dogs. And I've been ignoring the comments, and I apologize. But I want you guys to put in the comments what your ways of changing state are. And here's the thing, right? When you type this stuff out, you're anchoring this in for yourself. So as I'm talking about this and you think, wow, play with the dogs, type it in there, right? Because you're going to remember this as you go through things. Now, so I talked about music. I talked about movement. There is another one too that is so incredibly important. And it's this. It's your thoughts, right? It is, what are the thoughts that you're having in your mind at any given moment? What are the things that you're focusing on? You've heard me talk before about focus and how much of a big deal that is. And it's the same thing here. So if you find yourself in a position where you're like, you know what, I really want to shift state. I really want to change things. Man, take a look at what you're thinking of. And I have an exercise for you. And I'm going to tell you this, and you're going to be like, BS, Scott, but just try it. It absolutely works, right? So you are having a day where you have all this negative stuff and you're like totally worried about it, right? There's stuff that bothers you, some asshole at work, or that guy cut me off in traffic on the way home, or whatever, whatever it might be. And you're just focused on it, right? You find yourself thinking about it and you're trying to solve it, right? You're trying to fix it. And so all of this conversation is happening in your head. That's where the focus is. It is no wonder that you don't feel good, right? Because that's where your focus is. Your focus is on the negative. I do an incredible exercise, with some of our groups that come through our programs like the Path, to really drive home how powerful our thoughts are. And it's amazing. It is amazing what can happen. You bring someone into this exercise and I say, all right, I want you to think of a really sad thing and a really happy thing. And they think of the really sad thing, they think of the really happy thing. I'm like, great, we're going to do sad thing first. And I spend a minute and I have them focus on the sad thing and think about all of the details and think about, visualize it, all of those things. And then I say, how do you feel? And they go, really sad. And I'm like, great, that's exactly what I wanted. Not that I want to make people sad, but you know what I mean, right? And then I say, hey, let's shift, right? Let's shift to the happy thing, right? Maybe it's the happiest moment in your life or something that you're looking forward to or something that you can imagine. It doesn't matter what it is. And then we do the same thing. We focus on that happy thing and then they feel really happy. Now, there's a reason that I do this, right? Because I show people that literally in a matter of minutes, you can go from this place of feeling horrible to this place of feeling amazing. Like that. And it is all your thinking. So if you are feeling like, man, like my thoughts are really getting me down, like I'm really struggling with this thing or this person or this aspect or this issue or whatever it might be for you, I want to give you an exercise that has been so incredibly powerful for me when I do this stuff. And again, this sounds super simple. You might not think it's going to work. Promise you it does. I've suggested this to literally thousands of people. It's super simple. So you're feeling these thoughts, right? They're just nagging at you. They're just gnawing at you all day long. What you do is sit down with a piece of paper and I want you to list them all out, right? However it is you record these things. I tend to, it might be a surprise to you guys, but like I process verbally much better than in writing. But whatever it is for you, right? I'll use my voice notes. I just get it out, right? Not with the intention of solving it, not with the intention of going in a certain direction with it, but literally just to like, right? Like unburden, like get rid of it. And then I have this list of things that are bothering me, right? And they may or may not be things that I need to do. They may or may not be things that I need to like connect with. And what I say is I am putting this list down for the next however much time I have. I normally do 2 hours. I'm putting this list down for 2 hours. And 2 hours from now, I am going to go read that list and I'm going to start dealing with those things. But between now and then, I'm giving myself a break. And I know that this sounds overly simplistic, but I have seen, again, thousands of people try this. It shifts everything. Because you're telling your brain, hey, those things you are worried about, we'll get back to them. And then you go and you have those 2 hours, right? And when I do this, I normally combine it with music and movement, right? I'll normally combine it with like putting on a good playlist. And it's not about just cramming the bad thoughts down. It's about the way we feel. So you write these thoughts down and you set a timer for yourself. And then 2 hours later, you go back to worrying. You go back to mulling those things over. And guess what happens? Every single time I've done this, when I go back to those things, I feel so much better and so much better able to kind of engage with those things and work with those things and do what I need to do. So those three things, right? Music, movement, and thoughts. If you can work on those three things, you can shift your state. And the reason that I want to tell you about shifting your state and that I want you to start trying this like today is that when you do this, the way you show up for yourself, the way you show up for your family, the way you show up for your work completely changes, right? Like I have had days, I remember back when I had my engineering job, I would have days that just like, they just like tore me down, right? Things that just like, I couldn't actually like, I felt like I couldn't handle the stress. And I had a 20-minute drive home from work. And once I learned about the state idea, I realized, hey, wait a minute, I've got 20 minutes to get in state. I would do that. And then I would be able to walk in the door and be around my family and not be all stressed out and angry. And yes, this is a thing that can be hard to learn. And it's a hard thing to actually get our minds around. But the reality is we have so much control over our state, way more than we think, that you can actually leverage this. Like this is like a mind hack. But you can leverage this to have a better day and to show up in the way that you want to show up. And honestly, like this is why the idea of state is so important. Because if you're working to change something, if you're working to change your relationship with alcohol or to lose weight or to quit smoking, whatever it might be for you, it is so much better when you show up to that thing in a good mindset. When we show up to it negative, when we wake up in the morning, we're like, another day without alcohol. That's not a good way to feel. Right? That's not something that's actually going to lead us to the direction that we want to go to. That's not going to lead us to the place that like, hey, this is like ultimately the goal. So when we recognize we're there, we can take responsibility for our state, and regardless of what happened, right? If you're trying to quit drinking, even if you drank the night before, right? And you're like, I just blew it. Take a minute, get yourself in a better state. I promise you, you're going to have an ability to see and plan things that are so much different than if you had decided to just sit there with it. This is, like I said, literally a mind hack. I want to get to some questions. I see some here, but let me just round out what I was going to say, right? Make a list for you, right? Mine, again, music, movement, and thoughts. I do those 3 things and I can shift my state. It literally doesn't matter what's going on around me. When I take this seriously, when I started taking this seriously, I had the ability to go from feeling terrible to feeling fantastic within those few minutes. It does not take long. And when you have this ability as well, and you can literally change your entire experience, right? Regardless of what you're doing on your new goal, regardless of what's happening around you, and changing that makes the whole thing feel better, right? It makes you feel completely better. It will make you feel like showing up in a different way. And that, friends, like that is what makes us want to keep going. Even when we hit this dreaded January 19th, where things start to feel like they're sliding. So I want to get to some questions for you. I hope this is helpful. Actually, tell me in the comments if this is helpful. Does it seem too simplistic? What does it seem like to you? I want to hear about that, but let me get to some comments here. Yes, TAE is the alcohol experiment. Fiona in Denver. Hey, Fiona, I just left Denver yesterday. Let's see. That's right. TAE is the Arab Emirates. I did not actually think of that, Tanner. That's funny. Hi, Joan. Hi, my Aunt Joan. Wow, it's like a family day today. Good to see you. Play with dogs. Yeah, Kathy, like that's huge, right? Play with dogs, play with kids. Jolene says, I never feel worse after a run. Running is my daily mood changer and also my mood stabilizer. Yes, right? Finding these things, like actually taking the concept of state seriously is a game changer for sure. Yoga, says Tony. Yes, that's awesome. I love that. Kathy asks, what if it's a bunch of stressful stuff that needs me to make decisions ASAP? So much anxiety. Oh my God, Kathy, I love that you asked this question. The most effective times for me getting in state are when I am the most stressed out. Even when you do need to make those decisions, you can take a couple of minutes. And again, this isn't about like going from like, I mean, you can do this if you want, but going from like super depressed to super excited. But even if you just take a few minutes and put on a song, push away from your desk, right? I'm associating decisions with work. I don't know if that's a situation from you, but if you just have people, hounding you to make these decisions and do these things, take a couple of minutes for yourself, right? Put that song on. It's going to make a huge, huge difference. So yes, even if it is something that needs you like to make decisions ASAP, or something that causes you a lot of anxiety, even better, right? That's an even better reason to do this and give yourself this gift. Just a little bit of space in that anxiety can make such a huge difference. But so thank you for asking that question, Kathy. Kay says, I did so well 2 years. I've had a handful of slips with drink. Feel dreadful. How can I get over it and back on track? Kay, first of all, 2 years? Whoa. Like that is an incredible achievement. And so I just want to be super, super clear about one thing. No matter what has happened in the last few days, those 2 years are yours. And that's friggin' amazing. So nothing is actually going to take that away from you. So first and foremost, the first thing is to recognize that and absolutely give yourself a pat on the back. You absolutely deserve it. Now, this other question, feel dreadful. How can I get over it and back on track? Well, I want to submit to you, Kay, that even just watching this video is helping you do that, right? Focusing on little things that you can do, like, hey, I'm going to change my mindset. This makes such a huge difference. The way that you can get back on track is keep doing what you do. Right? Keep showing up for things like the alcohol experiment. Maybe the path is an option for you. Do things like read Naked Life Stories. That's what I talked about at the beginning of this video, right? Go see that. Go read that. Go immerse yourself in this community. Talk to people. That's how you keep going. There is nothing, okay, about any change journey that is a straight line. That doesn't happen. We think it does, right? That's how we tell ourselves we're supposed to change, but it's not real, right? So paying attention to the fact that, wow, I'm expecting myself to be perfect, when in reality, a change journey, it goes like this, right? It's all over the place. It's full of ups and downs. So first and foremost, give yourself compassion. Second, be somewhere where you can talk about this stuff. Being here, watching this video makes a huge difference, but there's so many other ways that you can do this. Talk about it, connect with other people about it, and then finally, do the work to change your state. Because I'll tell you one thing, Kay, like starting from a place of, I don't feel good, it's going to be really hard to change from there, right? But if you can get yourself excited, again, this is a perfect example of like outside of what's going on in your life, put on some crazy ass music, dance, right? Go connect with people, go have a fun conversation, whatever it is you can do to help change your state. This whole thing is going to feel better. So congratulations again on 2 years. Like that is like amazing. I'm super excited for you. And this is a data point. This is not, I've slipped up. This is not, it's over. This is a data point. So take some moments today and change your state. Doesn't matter what's going on with drinking. It doesn't matter, right? And if you don't believe me, try it. Just go try it. Put on a song you really like to dance to, turn it up, see what happens. You're going to feel better. And that is an incredibly powerful tool. So thank you for that question, Kay. And again, congratulations on 2 years. When I meet friends at bars seems to be the trigger. Oh yeah, so okay, that's great, right? So now you've identified that. Part of what, we don't call it, I notice you say slips. Like what we talk about here at This Naked Mind is we talk about data points. And I know it seems like, why the hell would you say that? But here's the thing, right? I mentioned before that the change journey is not linear, right? And so something's going to be happening and you're going to be doing great. And then all of a sudden, boom, something happens. You find yourself drinking again. That's not a slip. That's not a relapse. That's not you failing. That's not you messing up. That's just a data point, right? And like, what a great opportunity to say, oh, wow, meeting friends at bars is a trigger. Fine, let's use that as data, right? What can you do differently now, right? And it is incredible what can happen when we isolate that thing and we think about that thing and we strategize on that thing. We can give ourselves the compassion for saying, ooh, I did not set myself up for success here. I'm going to do it this way in the future. Everything shifts. So I'm so happy for you, Kay, that you were able to kind of see that. And now you have the data and you can mine this slip with for the data that it can give you so that you can go and continue to be AF the way you want to be. So that's awesome. Hello, Maria. How are you? Good to see you. Just spent a couple of days with Maria. Kay also says, my fitness is my addiction and it takes away any low mood. Hell yes. I love that. I love that. Let's see. Kimberly says, any suggestions for help you falling asleep? I seem to have difficulty. Yes. So this question comes up all the time with this process, right? All the time. One of the things that happens for many of us, and I know this is absolutely the case for me, is when you, especially if you're a daily drinker, your brain sort of adjusts. I'm not going to go into all the science behind it, like very high level, right? So alcohol is both a depressant and a stimulant. That seems confusing. We explain all of this in the alcohol experiment. The punchline to this whole thing is this, right? When you drink regularly, your brain has to adjust what sort of neurochemicals to release in order to regulate your mood, right? Ultimately, what your brain's trying to do is regulate the way you feel emotionally and physically. And so when we do something like drink a stimulant depressant all the time, our brain has to compensate, right? To change, to try to reach what we call homeostasis, which is this sort of like neutral mood. Now, the same thing happens for sleep, right? Because for so many of us, and again, I know this was the case for me, falling asleep wasn't happening as much every night as passing out, right? And so over time, what would happen is my neurochemistry adjusted to that. And when I suddenly stopped doing it, it was like I forgot how to fall asleep. That was literally what I told my wife at the time. Like, man, I don't think I know how to fall asleep anymore. Which is a crazy thing to say, right? Because what you start to realize is like, whoa, this is something humans do all the time. So when you're going through this process, it is incredibly common, not guaranteed, but it is common to have some problems falling asleep. And so there are a bunch of different things that you can do, and this will be individual to you. Kimberly, that can really help you shift. So I like to talk about them in terms of like setting the mood, right? What does that ultimately mean? It means having a relaxing wind down time. One thing that can keep us awake is stimulants like caffeine, right? So staying away from stuff like that later in the day. Also stimulating are things like movies, right? Let alone the blue light that comes off the screen, but also just like watching a suspense movie or watching a horror movie, right? So pay attention to what you're doing. One of the things that I found to be very effective for people in this process is to take those last couple hours at night, shut down the screens, right? Maybe read a book, whatever it might be for you. So pay attention to that. Also, and I know this doesn't seem connected, but it does make a huge difference, paying attention to hydration, right? How much water are you drinking? That can make a massive, massive difference as well. Finally, one thing, and it's just like I was talking about with state, making sure that you're moving your body, right? You're getting out there and you're doing things. All of those things together, right? Taking care of yourself and really thinking of like, what is this wind down routine for me? That's the way that you can really help yourself. Now, I will say that if you're experiencing it right now because you are going through changing your relationship with alcohol, first and foremost, awesome. That's great, right? And I just want you to take a minute and think about this. Like, oh, I've been trying to quit drinking and I finally did. And now I have this new problem. It's time to celebrate that new problem. That's a better problem, right? You get to choose your problems, and that's what you've done. So I just want you to see that for what it is. And then also realize that, research shows for most people, this is, and again, this is going to highly range, but it tends to last about 2 weeks. Sometimes a little bit longer, sometimes a little bit shorter, but this isn't a forever thing. So do what you can for yourself. Have that relaxation, wind down time. Really think about like, what are the things that make me feel warm and relaxed, and make sure that you go to sleep in that mode. And you will get there. I absolutely promise you. But I hope that's helpful, Kimberly. But thank you for that. Let's see. Sue says, I was so stressed last night, went to a bar for a friend's birthday, all drinking. I was so proud. I was going to cave, but played the night forward and thought, no thanks. I will stick to alcohol free. Happy Sunday. Hell yes, Sue. That's a fantastic, right? And that tactic, that idea of playing the tape forward, that makes a huge difference. So I am very happy to see your grinny smiley face there, because you should really, really celebrate this. Like this is a big win. So congratulations on that. Jenny says, read affirmations. You answered my question. So simple but powerful. Thank you. Yes, and actually I want to talk a little bit about that, just so you know, because there is some incredible research. There's some incredible research about this idea of affirmations and like really thinking thoughts we don't believe. And oftentimes, you'll go and you'll work with a coach and they'll say, oh, go like take Post-it notes and I've heard this from so many people. Like I can put Post-it notes around my mirror in the morning when I'm getting ready that says, you are powerful, right? I am incredible, or whatever the hell it is. Here's the thing. Research indicates that when you think a thought you don't believe, it actually is toxic. They're called neurologically toxic thoughts. Like they create toxicity in the brain because this thought you're thinking is at odds with reality. And it doesn't start to convince you over time, which is what we think, right? Like, oh, I can message this to myself and it'll convince me over time. It can actually make things worse. So the great thing about affirmations is that they work as long as those affirmations are something you believe in. Right? So, for instance, if you're like, I cannot quit drinking, right? And that's just how it feels to you right now. And you put an affirmation up saying, I can quit drinking. You're going to read that every day and you're going to go, what the hell? That's not true. Like, I don't believe that. Why? As opposed to this idea of going from I can't quit drinking to I am learning to quit drinking. Ooh, that feels good. Right? That feels good. I am learning to. It doesn't require anything of you. It doesn't require you to like show up in a certain way. All it says is I am learning to quit drinking. So those sort of affirmations, Jenny, can make such a huge difference. So if you are doing that, please absolutely make sure that the affirmations you're putting up there are affirmations you can believe in. And then guess what? You can always change them, right? So if it's I am learning to quit drinking, and then maybe it's like I am alcohol free most of the time. Right? Whatever that might be for you, it can make such a huge difference. So Thank you for that. That's really awesome. I'm glad you brought that up. Kimberly said, that's exactly how I feel. Like I've forgotten to fall asleep. I love reading. There you go. That's awesome. Reading is super duper helpful. I actually, interestingly enough, like I can't, if I take a book to bed, and like this is a joke with my wife, like she'll say things like, you must not really want to read that book, because if I say, oh, I'm going to go read in bed, I get like 3 sentences and I'm totally out. So whatever works for you is the key. All right, everybody, that is the end of the question. So I want to invite you to join me in pulling the levers to change your state, right? Whatever it might be for you, whatever is going around you, you have way more ability than you think, right? I used to think I needed that external thing. I didn't realize, oh, I can just choose to surround myself by things that change my state. You have no idea how much power you have over this whole thing. So if you are ready to give it a try, go and put on some music and dance. Go and do yoga, right? Go for a walk. Do the things. Pay attention to your thoughts. Whatever it is that you can do, use that lever, because that is something that can make a tremendous difference in your experience and a tremendous difference in how you show up. And when you start doing that, everything changes. So that was what I had to say today. Thank you all so much. And if you are in need of inspiration, right, this is another way to change your state. I highly, highly recommend going to nakedlifestories.com. Right there is a list of stories. Like I said, mine's in there, of people who have shifted their relationship with alcohol, right? Inspiration is another way to change state. So if that sounds good for you, I absolutely, whoa, hang on, hold off everything. Sue just said 20 years of drinking daily, day 16. I'm so bloody chuffed. Other than the fact that you use the word chuffed, which is like amazing, Sue, holy cow, congratulations. Like I want all of us to just like focus our thoughts on there and just say congratulations. That is amazing. To shift that amount of drinking time is amazing. 16 days. Yes, yes, yes. That is so good. All right. Back to what I was saying. If you need that sort of inspiration, and if it's something that's going to help you feel better, then head on over to nakedlifestories.com. Get a completely free ebook so that you can read these stories for yourself. It is something that will help you shift your state as soon as you start reading it. All right, everybody, that is it for me. Thank you so much for hanging out with me with the last 37 minutes. I will be back next week. And until then, take care.